And thanks for joining us on your channel of choice, Africa Independent Television AIT. My name is Mwabweze Njoka, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the signature show this Sunday. Now, we begin the program with some of your reactions to issues we have raised in the course of this program in previous editions. Now, Jude Onyenwe from Imo State, you say, I chanced on the signature show this Sunday. Your guest on the assessment of the first 1 year of the 9th National Assembly was trying to justify the high cost of running our National Assembly and even the buying of SUVs for House members. Now, when will we understand that politics is about service and not the comfort and economy of politicians? Ufoma was superb in the corruption Tori segment. Good job, keep it up. Now, from another viewer who did not indicate his name, he says, good afternoon, sir. Thanks for the highly educative program on the President's Executive Order 10 of 2020. It was indeed an eye-opener on how institutional corruption is being entrenched in Nigeria by the governor's refusal to implement a constitutional provision. God save Nigeria. And lastly, from yet another viewer who did not indicate his name, and he says, good day, presenter. Please, my question to your guest who is assessing 1 year of the 9th National Assembly is this. All the bad roads in the Southeast, who do we hold responsible? The federal government or National Assembly members who represent us and are supposed to protect our interest at the national level? Please keep your reactions coming and just send us texts using the numbers showing on your screen right now, or you can also send us messages via our email address. All right? Now, Onyenwe and other viewers, please, you can always follow Corruption Tori at the end of the signature show. It comes every Sunday at 2:45. This is the signature show on AIT. We take a break now, and when we return, the preparations of some states for post-COVID-19 period. Stay with us.
SignatureTV.org. Breaking the news, following the news, analyzing the news, 24/7 round the clock, all on the go. SignatureTV.org. News in your pocket.
Coronavirus seems to be a health challenge which human societies will have to remain with and contend with. There cannot be a permanent lockdown of both economic and social activities. So, when the lockdown is lifted, for instance, in Nigeria, what will happen? Now, Signature Show correspondent Damilola Abudu visited 2 states in the southeast, Abia and Enugu, to assess preparations for education in the post-COVID era. Stay with us.
For Abia State, the COVID-19 infection is not just real. It has hit the seat of governance, the government house, Umuahia. The governor, Okezie Ikpeazu, has been infected and is presently receiving treatment in Abuja, the Nigerian capital. The secretary to the Abia State government, Chris Ezim, told Signature Show that in a few weeks, the state will set up 2 molecular testing laboratories with a capacity to test 75 samples simultaneously. Equipment for the 2 laboratories have already been received. Chris Ezim said the state governor was responding well to treatment and would be back at Government House soon.
Governor is very stable. Governor is very stable. Very stable. I spoke to him this afternoon. I've taken various instructions from him. He's doing very well. And he's equally keeping an eye on what we are doing. I can tell you clearly he's stable. In a very short time, he'll be back.
Post-COVID, the Abia Secretary to the government said the state would discourage much contact among school children by its radio education programs, which has been strengthened and expanded to accommodate more subjects, increase broadcast hours, and reach the remotest communities of the state. Enugu State is, however, adopting a different approach in its post-COVID education policy. The State Commissioner for Works and Infrastructure, Greg Naji, told Signature Show in Enugu that the state had embarked on massive refurbishment and expansion of schools and classroom space even before the COVID-19 pandemic. He said that if any congestion is still noticed in the number of children per class, the state would alter the school attendance period into 3 sessions of morning, afternoon, and evening.
Even before this, the governor and the ESCO has reconstituted the ESUBEP, Enugu State Universal Basic Education Commission. And we had earlier embarked on a massive reconstruction of our primary schools. And with the COVID-19, those spaces, the spaces provided in the renovation will actually be harnessed in making sure that there's adequate spacing when the school resumes. And one of the factors being considered is to phase out the school session in a way that morning section, afternoon session, and so on, so that we will strictly work in compliance with the NDDC regulations. So we have that plan, and we are working ahead of time to ensure that when eventually school begin, we will not be left behind in making sure that we comply.
Greg Naji said that Enugu State's response to the COVID-19 challenge is not panicky, but a permanent response to a wide range of infectious diseases that will become part of the health architecture of the state. He said that Enugu State will soon commission Type 3 primary health centers in Nkano East, Iwetiti, Udenu, Ibueze North, Uzuwani, Isuzo, and the Zagu local government areas. These health centers, to be commissioned between July and August 2020, will be equipped with critical and needed diagnostic facilities, technical staff, doctors and nurses to respond speedily to any outbreak of infectious diseases, including COVID-19.
Now, from the challenge of COVID-19 to that of managing diverse and sometimes conflicting interests in a political party, President Muhammadu Buhari on Thursday, he endorsed the dissolution of the National Working Committee or the ruling All Progressives Congress APC, an interim management organ, has even been set up to organize a special convention to elect new officers for the APC. In other words, Brother Adams Oshiomhole is effectively out of office as chairman of the party. This game of banana peels doesn't really interest me. One day, it'll be warm and settled. Another, you are in the cold and shivering. Power indeed is fleeting. It is transient. They say that's the nature of politics. But Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo says cost of running government in Nigeria, the high cost, should not become our nature of governance. He says we must begin a debate on this very matter. And this Sunday, we kickstart that debate on the high cost of running government in Nigeria. That is the subject of our conversation. Stay with us. Well, Professor Osita Obu was the Chief Economic Advisor and Minister of National Planning under the Obasanjo administration. At present, he is a Professor of Economics and Director, Institute for Development at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. Prof, you are welcome to the conversation.
Thank you.
Prof, incidentally, we have not brought to you a matter of economics, even though what we are going to converse on still is around the same managing money and managing money properly. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, last week in Lagos, raised a fundamental issue. He said that the cost of running government in Nigeria is so high that it requires a national debate to determine whether we're on the right course or there are things to be changed. Generally, do you think that the cost of running government in Nigeria is high?
Well, the Vice President, who is currently the number 2 person in Nigeria, has said so. All of us have said so many times. The cost of running government is extremely high, and we are all beginning to witness the implication of that cost, the implications. Currently, the federal government is spending over 80% of its revenue on things that are of recurrent in nature. In fact, essentially, most of our capital expenditure rely on borrowed money. The revenues we generate internally cannot even sustain the recurrent expenses. So I think he raised an important question, and indeed the debate should start, or it has been there, but we have not taken it seriously. I think the economic climate, given also the implications of the pandemic, have made it imperative that we must begin this discussion.
Now, Prof, you know that government expenses are tagged to certain functions and certain heads, certain structures of government. Do you think, I want to begin from the Nigerian Constitution, do you think that the Nigerian Constitution structures governance to make it expensive?
No, the federalism we are running is expensive. I think we may have copied too fast, too quickly, without fully analyzing the implications. Interestingly, I think the 1999 Constitution is modeled after the 1979 Constitution. So things were a bit rosy in 1979 when we wrote the Constitution. So, and of course, the operators of the Constitution has also made it a little bit more expensive because some of the excesses that we see were not envisaged. That notwithstanding, I think the structure itself is expensive. 36 state governments, 774 local governments, a federal government, a federal capital territory government. So you're looking at close to 113 or so governments that you have to cater for with all the things that go with them, state assemblies. So this is actually tied to this agitation for restructuring. If I may take you back a little bit, we copied this constitution from the United States, basically. But we copied certain things, but we didn't copy other things. And even in the United States, their federalism has been evolving. They have not changed their constitution, but they use laws to alter the relationships. They have had what they call a dual federalism, which is basically federal and states, and serious separation of powers. And when the federal government wanted to encroach on the powers of the states, the Supreme Court was there to tell them, no, you can't do this. So they will pass a certain law in the Congress, and the Supreme Court will nullify it. But over time, they discovered that, especially after the Great Depression, things cost things. Things bring about things. They realized they needed a more cooperative federalism. So they moved from the dual to a cooperative federalism, where states were now, where federal government was now intruding, if you like, in the word, in the boundaries of states, because they needed to help states do certain things. That's when they had the great, the New Deal and Great Society Acts. Things like Medicaid, Medicare for the elderly, Medicaid for the indigent, school feeding for children in public schools. You know, federal government started getting involved in things that states were doing, and it worked for a while. Some of those elements are still there, but they have also now migrated to what they are calling maybe new federation. New federation has returned a bit of that powers. They have decentralized because they realized the cooperative federation was expensive. And the cooperative federation, while it had certain merits like, listen, some states are poorer than others, so we need common standards. We need federal government to establish a minimum that everybody, you know, like federal minimum wage, things of that nature. But in the new federation, they realized that they needed to create a bit of competition among the federal federating states, and that public expenditure was becoming less efficient, and the federal government was also losing focus on where they should really put their money. So, and it comes in phases, like I said, and as they are moving, their Supreme Court is also moving in tandem. So the Supreme Court that initially didn't allow them, allowed them, and now also is saying, you know, you could be more accommodating. In fact, in 1986, I think, Ronald Reagan struck down, through an act, the revenue sharing in, I think, about 1986 that they had, you know. So, and then came 9/11, the Homeland Security brought the federal government again in controlling security at all airports, and so, you know, things lead to things. In other words, the evolving. So we are also at that point where we need to re-examine the structure of the federation, because the oil you relied on in the past can no longer be relied upon now. So it just makes sense that we should sit down and say, this structure, this having House of Representatives and Senate, is that really what we want? 3 senators from each state, is that really what you want? So many members of House of Assembly on a permanent basis, is that what you really want? When you've dealt with the legislative arm, that is why it will require actually a complete rewriting of the Constitution. You then have to deal with the executive. The parastatals you have, are they all required? Even in the UK, every 5 years they review the essence of the institutions they have. We set you up for a specific purpose. Are you still serving that purpose? Can we get private sector to provide us that service and we save money? But you know, our parastatals and many of our institutions have become institutions for welfare. There was a time I asked someone, a DG, and I said, if we remove half of your staff, what will happen? He said, I will even be more efficient, which is true, because you will have more money going into program.
Yeah, so, Prof, we are looking at the structure.
Yes.
I do not want to put you on the spot, but it's necessary for us to begin to say, this is what ought to be done. Yes. Does it occur to you, is it part of your thinking, yes, that we should reduce the number of states we have?
It's not the number of states, it is reduce. For instance, why should local governments be part of the federating units? That's basically the affairs of the states. It's not about reduce, it's about what will make us more efficient? Is it the regions? You know, we need to sit down and study and analyze it. Somebody has said 6 regions. Within that 6 regions, you can create the states. But once you create the states, you begin to reduce the things, the apparatus of government. Perhaps each state will no longer have 24 commissioners, maybe 6 commissioners. The governor will become less visible. The region will become the visible arm of government that affiliates with the federal government. So it is not necessarily the number of states. It is how we have structured the expenditure of running government to make it very efficient. Sometimes you know, the public resources are treated as if they belong to no one. We must ask these critical questions. What have we bought with the money we spent last year before we allocate a new one? And that is why the budgeting process itself is problematic. There was a time I thought we were going to zero budgeting, which is difficult, but should be done. Where you say, listen, we start from ground zero. Because if you see the way budgets are made, I bought 10 computers last year. This year I buy 10 computers, or I make it 12. I mean, what happened to the 10 computers? Those computers only last 1 year. So there is this gradualism, adding and moving on. The higher the budget, the better you have performed. No, of course not. It is what did the money buy? That's a critical question.
Prof, the next thing I want to bring in is structure. Yes, let us debate it, let us examine it, let us know which is most efficient for us. What of our reward structure? And let me tell you what I mean by that, Prof, if you do not mind. Public office in Nigeria seems to be defined along the line of the colonial master who was here, who needed a cook, a steward, 10 cars, people to protect him. No matter what function he performs, because he was the Lord, he needed those things. When he left, the pertinences of office to him remained with the new leaders, and in fact being increased. Our reward structure for public office, is it right?
With all due respect, I think many Nigerians are getting it wrong. I don't think our public officers are even well paid. If you know the salary of a minister, you'll be surprised. If you bring somebody to be a minister in Abuja and he has to live in a decent accommodation, what they are paid cannot really do it. It is not the salary. I think what people are seeing is when somebody is moving with 10 cars, it's unnecessary. When somebody is moving with ambulances and things and assistants and so on, the salaries of senior people in government basically inadequate for maintaining them in Abuja or anywhere else. Many people may disagree because they don't know what it is. And I'm not talking about jumbo allowances that sometimes we hear that people may have. But if you stay strictly with what people are paid, and that's what we should really be asking. Pay people well so that they can do the job well, but you don't need all the people. There are too many people. That's number one. The second is that, you asked me a question that actually touches on even myself. As a professor in a Nigerian university, I'm also a public servant. Yeah, and you'll be shocked that those of us at the apex of this professorship, meaning the last bar, my take-home pay is less than 500,000. It's about 400 and even less than 450.
I don't want to interject, but the system, the society, yes, expects you to be the thought house of this country.
And remember, I'm not saying lecturer. So if you take me now and then you go down to associate professor, senior lecturer, lecturer 1, lecturer 2, assistant lecturer, then you know how much they are paid. So there is that debate. And we have also heard of the so-called jumbo pay that the National Assembly gets. I think those things need to be looked into. We need to streamline, make them public so that everybody knows what everybody is getting. But more importantly, what are you delivering for the money you're getting? This emphasis, my emphasis has always been on productivity. Why do you have 10 people doing the job of one person? You're talking about cost of governance. That's where it comes from. Remember the Orosanya report? And I hear now that there is a momentum to look into that, look at it again. That's where to start also, to look at the rationalization of certain parastatals. The expansion has gone beyond what one expected. By the way, as you're closing, you may have a need to create. Because institutions are created around problems. Institutions are not just created for creation's sake. But sometimes what we have done in the past is that we have created and we have not closed. You know, you create certain institutions to resolve certain issues. Then when those issues are resolved, they should go. But our institutions exist in perpetuity. And also, like I said earlier, you could take certain functions from government to private. And these things must be going on. The review cannot be you wait after 20 years. It's after every 5 years you review and find out the relevance, the significance of the institutions that you have created. Are they still needed? And if they are needed, how should they be restructured? Can you reduce the scale? The other point about those parastatals is in the manner and ways and the quality of the governing boards that are associated with the institutions. If the governing boards become avenues for paying back political patronage, for paying back loyalists. So the guy feels you handed me over this parastatal, so it's mine. He goes to his village and brings everybody that he feels can be employed in a parastatal. This is a major issue. So while government is closing loophole with the IPPIS and saying, listen, we used to have ghost workers, we no longer have ghost workers. Their payroll numbers are still going up. The payroll numbers are going up because in the parastatals, people are still being employed. And not necessarily that you need to employ. It's just that you have to employ.
Can I go back a little bit? In the First Republic, you could expect a very well-heeled permanent secretary,
Yes.
a director, to be deployed to service governance in the office of the Prime Minister, in the office of the Governor General, in the office of whoever in government. But the presidential system of government we are running virtually makes it difficult to attach a qualified, competent civil servant to service the needs of the presidency. So we appoint aides for the president. And therefore we also increase the number of people employed in governance. What I've said is replicated at the state level, if not worse at the local government level. This presidential system, can we service it anyhow else without all these extra civil service appointments?
In fact, I think when we were in government, we were restricted to perhaps maybe 2 advisors, 1 assistant, and so you were forced, compelled, to pick other assistants from the civil service. My PA was a civil servant. My SA advisor was seconded from the central bank. I didn't actually bring people from outside. So it can be done, should be done. If what you're looking for are people, that's why I talked about productivity. You're looking for people who will help you. It's not about aid. An aid is someone to aid you. It's not a hangers-on. It's not, let me appoint my relatives or my friends. It is someone who assists you to do the job. So if you have come to do the job, you need people who will assist you. The other people I had in my office were then people that the European Commission helped me pay for, because there's no way they can even take civil service salary. Because I needed skilled people to do certain functions that I had to do. So, you see, people must understand that if you're appointed a minister, it means you've come to do a job. If you're appointed a DG, you have to ask yourself, I have inherited this institution at point A. My duty is to move it to point B. How do I move it from point B? I also need people to help me. But I have also, in fact, written on this, that when a minister is appointed and all his aides and advisors are from outside and he's undertaking a reform, let's say, that reform is a minister's reform. It's not the ministry's reform. For as long as you have not involved people in the ministry, that reform will not be internalized and will not be entrenched. And as soon as the minister leaves, that reform collapses. So it makes sense that a minister, a DG, who is planning to move his institution forward, finds people internally that must believe in that vision. You know, I used to tell people, Christ created 12 apostles from within. He didn't go anywhere else to get them. You know, if you can't get 12 people within your ministry to buy into your vision and becomes the apostles of those visions, then something is wrong with the vision. So, or the message or the messenger. So there has to be this understanding that part of that cost reduction is that you're using internal resources, you're finding good people, you're training them, you are not bringing extra into the system. In fact, you can even make these external agencies to reward some of these people who are internal a little better, for them to be able to perform better, because incentives are important in terms of performance.
Now, Prof, political parties are supposed to set certain governance values. When you're elected into office, you go deliver on those values.
Correct.
Look at our political parties. Are they in any wise recommending to those in government frugality, prudence, reduced manpower? I'm not comfortable with that, because some people will say, oh, you want people sacked. No, but at least leaner manpower, and to be able to handle this challenge we're raising this debate on.
I'm not exactly like you. You know, if we are going to rationalize, people, unfortunately, will have to leave office. But I realized during my days that people are not afraid of leaving office. They are afraid of whether they will leave office empty-handed. So during Obasanjo, we had dedicated money with which the people we were removing from, we were declaring redundant because they had nothing to do. There was a pot of money from where we paid them. I would still recommend same, that even as we are rationalizing, even as we are looking at these institutions, we shouldn't be afraid. By the way, the day they were given their checks and the computer that we had added to them, they were singing hallelujah and praising God. Because we kept them on salary until we got that money. The checks were handed over to them. People know when they are not doing anything in a system. You know, if you have abolished cars for ministries and you are still having drivers within the system. At one point in national planning, I had over 200 people who were sitting in Lagos doing nothing. So I had to do something. Every day, they had no place to go, but every month they received salary. It's happening at state level, it has happening at local government level. So we need to be serious with governance. We need to ask ourselves real questions. These people we're employing, have we defined the roles they will play? How can I employ a graduate today in any office and that graduate doesn't have a computer on his or her desk? These are questions. It means we have not defined the job. So you convert graduates into ushers. You are doing ceremony, they wear uniforms. No, please, that's not why they went to university. They have been employed to produce. So I may not have answered.
But I want you to address the matter of the political parties, because you see, they are supposed to be synthesizing values.
Yes, it's very interesting because you have to ask yourself, what values will they espouse? Political parties are not built on ideology. See what is happening in Edo. The APC candidate was PDP candidate. The PDP candidate was APC candidate in the last election, just 4 years ago. What does that tell you? That the parties are seamless in their beliefs, in their personality. And so which values are they going to espouse? And the supremacy of party, does it exist? You know, in those days, even during MPN, the national chairman of a party can actually summon a president. We don't have that anymore. The national party. Look at what happens in South Africa. It is the party that removes the president. They said, we're not sure. You should continue. Yeah. Things are not as we expected. Can we get your resignation in the next 1 week? And it happens. That's how Thabo Mbeki left. That's how Zuma, they didn't have to go for a new election. So we need to have parties that are taken seriously by people. So when you belong to a party, it means there are certain beliefs that tied you to the party. You can't just jump ship the next day and go to another party and then be a flag bearer. So these things, and we many of us think that things will be evolving. You see, this is why there's a bit of, no, that's why there's a bit of despair. Because you would expect the election of 2019 to be better than 2015, election of 2023 to be better than 2019, you know, evolving over time. You would also expect the parties to evolve so that they can do what you're asking. To begin to control the executive and says, we went into this election with this manifesto. How far? Can you come and give us an account of how we are doing in terms of benchmarking our performance against the manifesto we gave to our people? We were voted in on the basis of this manifesto. After 2 years, please, what are we going to tell our people? Because we still plan to win the next election. But once you win an election, you jettison the manifesto and come up with your own agenda. And yet the INEC rules, the electoral rules says you must be a member of a party for you can contest. Because we don't have independent candidates. So it is the party that actually has won that election. So how come when that election is won, then everybody will do whatever they want?
Prof, can this debate therefore be thrown also to the parties to say, look, there's a complaint that running governance is expensive in Nigeria. Yes. Can't the political parties themselves take it up to say, look, we must begin to define how government becomes lean, becomes more prudent, in fact, becomes more frugal?
Oh, absolutely. It should be part of the manifesto of every government. By the way, the whole clamor for restructuring may not have been based on this efficiency, productivity criteria, but it should be. That should be the driving point. That we want to reduce the structures because we want to reduce expenses. We want to be more productive. We want a competitive federation. We don't want everybody to be rushing to Abuja to share, because it has not allowed us to develop that which is in our backyard. We want people to contribute to the central port. We want to be our brother's keeper. If things are not going right in one particular state, all of us will be concerned. Federal government can actually use the pooled money to intervene. But one state cannot hold the other down. I was reading also this morning about one of the ways of stimulating the economy, because there is the fear, it's not a fear, it's almost a reality that we might go into a recession. And so there's this 2-point-something trillion that is going to be spent. And they are saying we won't buy cars, we won't buy some of these capital expenditures will be stepped down, and that we're going to use local materials to begin to do roads and housing. I support that. But it's not about not even buying cars. But it is saying if we are buying anything in the next couple of years, let it be local. The innocents of this world need to be supported wherever they are. I have said it and I've written that the economies that will survive post-COVID are economies that produce, not economies that consume. If you can't produce what you consume, you are going to be in a deeper problem. Our pharmaceuticals must be supported. Our manufacturing must be supported to produce that which we consume. You can't be buying cars for National Assembly and you're buying Toyota Camry. When the ambulances, the police cars can be manufactured by innocent in Navy. I mean, and there are other local manufacturers, Peugeot in Kaduna. Why are we not looking in to be able to address the problems we have? Many people are talking about importing hospital beds. Why do you need to import hospital beds? Go to these assembly plants and they will produce locally made beds that are good for us. I am 100% certain that for as long as we are not promoting our manufacturing, we are not going to create jobs, lift people out of poverty, because this is in the manufacturing that this efficiency I'm talking about can arise, productivity can increase, wage can increase. So we must begin to address those things. In addition to the interventions we need to make in the health and the education sector, because they are absolutely critical.
For this Sunday, I want to thank you very much for giving us your time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this audience. I appreciate this time you're giving me.
Until we come your way next Sunday, my name remains Mwabwoz Njoko. Good afternoon. Well, next Sunday, we will continue with the debate with yet another guest. For now, thanks for staying with us, but please don't forget that Corruption Tori follows immediately. For this Sunday, it's good afternoon.
Be enemy of Nigeria. Lawyers, people who study political science, and even security experts them don't tell us say enemy of any nation. Now anybody we want destroy economy, we want finish the health of the nation, and those we get plan to spoil the security of that nation, we they rebel against the government. Now them gonna be enemy of nation. For person to be enemy of nation, a serious matter. It affects both government and the people of that nation. That enemy free come from both inside or outside that nation. But our people they talk say na enemy with tanda inside. Now it was past sake of it don't sabi the in and out, and if it to hide because people go trust them. My people, welcome to Corruption Tori for today. Program where we they focus on corruption matter and how we go take fight comot am for we society. My name na Ufuoma Eguriasi, and our corruption tori this Sunday na of enemy wey dangerous pass, enemy of inside house.
This na corruption tori.
For the last week of March, President Muhammadu Buhari tell Nigerians say coronavirus wey land for Nigeria for February, e don pass be careful matter, and we country gats to take some kind step make country people life dey protected. President announced lockdown for Lagos, Ogun and Federal Capital Territory where coronavirus bin chook leg well well. President still announced say nobody go fit dey travel from one state go another state, make this virus no go stretch leg go round country. Why President ban travel from state to state except na only food dem dey transport? Shebi na because coronavirus be like war wey dey challenge everybody for Nigeria. People wey catch am dey fight between life and death, and anybody wey do something to spread am, e dey add join the war wey coronavirus don bring.
Na very shameful something. Na something wey we suppose dey cover our face for as a country. Na government, na dem do this lockdown. Na dem say make we no travel go from one place to the other so that this coronavirus go quickly comot for our country. Because if people no travel, they no go spread am. And if people no spread them, the thing we go quickly cure them. Then people go come back to their normal lives. But as human beings, we say people know they always hear word to sit down for one place, not trouble. So this kind of thing now, the government must make sure say then do them, then enforce them, so that people go fit sit down for one place, they no go travel.
When government say make something happen, if we no join hands together, do the thing together, now we go dey suffer at the last. E no get day where they know they announce plenty number of people wey don catch corona join, wey don catch this COVID-19 thing join. And as they announce the people wey don catch and join, they announce the people wey don kpai for this, where the thing don kpai. And now where the problems dey, the main problem be that. If we not even reason for ourselves, make we think say, look, nobody want kpai. So sake of that one, anything where we see, make we dey talk. If you know kurukere corner where people they take, do rogo to the buster for different places, all those bush parts where they on our locality, if you sabi those kind of things, torchlight am inside, make everybody sabi the one way they make we follow fight this thing. Because as long as we not fight them, corona go still dey with us and it go still dey kill our loved ones.
But wetin happen after President make that banning order for state-to-state movement? Lagos State Task Force wey suppose make sure say the ban dey in place, block one trailer load of some young men reach up to 40 wey dey move from north go Lagos. Then Osun State still block another trailer wey na boys full am from north. Then Rivers, Kogi, Enugu, Abia, Anambra and even FCT catch their own trailer. The National Orientation Agency NOA come raise alarm say na the security agents wey dem send go enforce the ban for express to stop interstate travel. Na dem come turn the ban to ATM machine where they comot money for free. Some of them they cash out, collect plenty money from those people where they traffic this youth from north, go round. They allow their trailer make it pass for night. With joint body of ICPC, the agency beyond press people say them go catch all these security agents wey do this kind thing, sake of say they be enemy of we nation.
Some security personnel are alleged to be compromising on the ban on interstate travels and the curfew by collecting gratification and allowing free passage of unauthorized persons. The present collaboration between the National Orientation Agency and the ICPC will set up surveillance to ensure that those who indulge in these acts are apprehended and appropriately brought to book.
Our security personnel are compromising, during this emergency period. So it's something we're fully aware of. And since the 3rd of April, we engage in series of emergency campaigns sensitizing the public that they should avoid bribing security personnel.
The government itself, now you suppose enforce this thing. But as the people where they put there, where they work under the government, can they collect bribe? Some they collect loaf of bread, some they collect banana, some they collect 5,000 naira, they allow people they pass. You know good. So it no make sense at all. Means say even the presidents where they suppose they serve, they protect, they respect. They know they respect them at all for this country where we do so. And as I know they respect them, now we say the virus, they spread, they go. It go does they spread, they go, they waka, they go until it go catch almost everybody.
You know they're good. You know they're good. For people where they involved in this thing, law enforcement where they involved, the first thing what me I they recommend though, may they collect the clothes from them. Not only to they collect the clothes from them, may they give them public trial so that it go give more people for community there liver.
To show say the matter na threat to national security, come they take with government authority, they take do am yeye. The House of Rep don't enter the investigation proper on how people they take disobey presidential order and how this mago-rich security operative them will join body to put country people life for risk as them join to help spread COVID-19 well. Come still they cause wahala between states, go take enter problem for prison.
The House of Reps, now just talk, then go talk. At the end of the day, what's go happen? So nothing go come out from that their investigation of their report or whatever it is that they are looking into. Because at the end of the day, now who they police the police? Who they check the army? Who they check the NCDC? So if we then get another task force now, the way they get now a task force, all right? If they can't get another task force, where go they move around? Go they check within then they do. Make IG himself, make Chief of Army Staff, make DG of NCDC, make them put their own spy men for their district, make them they check those people where they collect all this bread, all these 5,000, all these 1,000, all these 500 from road travelers. Make them check them so that they go fit arrest them, discipline them. If they use them as an example, other people no go do the thing where then they do.
May they probe them. May they even put eye for their body wear. How police when they say make people know they three inside, make people they three inside car. How people go they 5 inside car and police go just collect money say me that they go. You know good now we dey arm ourselves for Nigeria.
I move down to Slade as we dey come back like this. We as in overload, we dey choke. The police no must say search of anything, no searching. For that Zuba, after if you want go fly over, you want climb that flyover. As the man just see like this, you just talk say Ghana, you just say see your own, you give on them. Allow us to go, no wetin we carry, whether we carry ammunition or anything, nothing, no man search anything, just allow us go. And now 2 people there for front seat, 2 people now they no man talk anything. I go to say the thing with this safe country, this country they safe. I go take they safe. They bring good law for us to follow, but people wey rich, those people wey rich, they know they follow the law. They need to handle them, and then all those security agency, but they handle them very tight. Then too, they don't they manipulate their own, they join. They don't they too much exaggerate this matter. As in, there some people say go tell you say, God do something, you no corona, give us money. Well, government don't talk that way, but I don't now say corona dey, and then all of us they see them all over the world.
The Inspector General of Police and ogas them of other security agencies will join body to enforce presidential order, go help the House of Rep, the NOA, and ICPC, make them fit track these people, these enemies of the nation, even when them don't lift this lockdown order.
It will take us a long time to recover, not just Nigeria, the whole world, though. Because we don't know when they go develop the vaccine. As we talk like this now, there is no drug where they don't discover safe cure COVID-19. Now trial and error. My friend will come up for isolation center. He say na different medicine than they give them. So we never know. So as it be like this now, the world don't change. There is nothing we can do about it.
This corona matter where they talk, COVID-19, coronavirus, corona drivers, all of them. Not be small thing. Those people when they commit crime on top give because of what they do to them. Make government make sure say free of charge. You see, from medicine what they need to medical everything what they need to those who supposed go court, government supposed take care of everything free of charge.
na the only way them go fit show country people wetin dey cause make tree dey die from the roots.
This na corruption Tori.
But wait o, any normal person fit to dey make money from woman wey her 3 pikins just die. E dey possible. Security operative wey dey make money from situation wey dey kill country people. E be like person wey dey chop food from inside grave, and dem go carry leg waka go house go meet their family. Kai, we hope say the security people wey do like this, and anybody wey help them escape punishment, they go regret wetin dem do when they gbab them. Well, my people, now our corruption Tori for this Sunday be this. Till we come with another Tori next week Sunday. Abeg o, na clean money, na sweet to chop pass. My name na Ufoma Eguriase. Una bye bye yo.